Hello, everyone. My name is Meghna Bhagat, and I'm here today with another wonderful astrologer and speaker of Astro-Bash 2024, Stan Posey. Hi, Stan. Welcome back to Astro-Bash.
Hi, Magnus. So great to meet you. Thank you.
Yeah, wonderful to meet you too. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person.
Yes.
So, Stan, you're coming back to Astro-Bash after its debut year for the second time. What brings you back to Astro-Bash?
Oh, absolutely. Well, first of all, the tribe, of course, to see everyone in person. COVID really ruined that for a lot of us. You were an AP person, so you know that. And there's nothing like being together with your kindred people. And astrologers, I think, are very special people. So it's just great to be with them. And of course, the teachings, to see Stephen again live is one of the most special things for me. So all of that, the night sky, I wouldn't miss it.
Uh, that sounds wonderful. So, do you go to other conferences also, Stan, or is this your main
When
one?
I can, I do a lot of continuing education as an acupuncturist. I'm always studying astrology. I try to learn all the time. Yes.
That's awesome.
Actually, I first saw Stephen at the UAC in New Orleans in 2012, and what a blessing that was.
Yeah, I can imagine. I had a very different kind of introduction to him. I met him at a friend's wedding, and
Oh
that's
my
how,
goodness.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah, it was incredible.
Definitely speaks. Yes. My South Node was being activated by that Venus transit at that time. So I really felt the call.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Stan, you talked about this idea of actually, what are you talking about this year? I don't want to give away your topic. I want you to have the chance to talk
Oh,
about it.
yeah, I'll just mention a little bit. I mean, what I'm actually talking about is the death chart. I mean, here we are, we do birth charts. We're talking about the karma that's unfolded, that's ripened for this life, and how that can unfold for us, and how we can best be invited to participate in a healthy way with that. But what happens when we leave? I mean, our death chart shows us a lot of things. One that I'm going to emphasize is it leads us into it kind of highlights our biography, the life we've just finished. It highlights what we came in to work on. There's a lot of information around that within the death chart, but it also shows what we're giving back to the spiritual cosmos as we unfold and go back into spirit and prepare for our next incarnation. So it's kind of an unusual topic, but we are evolutionary astrologers. So there you go. That's all I'm going to say right now.
Wow. It's fast. I was just about to ask you a follow-up as soon as right before you said, that's all
But
I'm
yeah,
going to say right now.
you can ask if you have a question, sure.
Well, I'm curious uh, how would somebody use a death chart of a loved one to,
Okay. I'm actually going to use the death chart of Rudolf Steiner for a couple reasons. One, I know his biography really well. And so if you're going to work with the death chart, you do want to know their biography pretty well. So I presented a variation of this earlier this year to the Anthroposophical Society, which is anthroposophy is what Steiner started, the spiritual science. And that was at the 99th anniversary of his death. Um, the when we're doing Astro-Bash, that same weekend this year will be the 100th anniversary of his last lecture. And I'll just mention a few things about that when I present. But after I presented his death chart the way I did at that time, I had quite a few people contact me afterwards that felt called to contact me because of loved ones they had recently lost. And so I worked with quite a few of them. And because they wanted to and were willing to put in the effort and knew that person's biography rather well, it was a way for them to kind of feel connected, to stay connected, which is a very important thing because we're surrounded all the time by Steiner's term is my favorite, the so-called dead. I mean, they're with us all the time. So it was a way to help them feel more connected and continue that loving relationship they already had. And I can, it was interesting to me that they came forth and asked that, and it opened up that avenue for others, I'm sure.
Wow. What a fascinating, fascinating topic. That makes me very curious and very eager to go listen to it, Stan.
Good, good.
Fascinating. So last year, when Camille was talking to you, you talked about your book on the Galactic Center and you gave a lecture on it. How's that going?
It just keeps growing. It's not ready yet. I was hoping again, but I'm so glad I didn't use my little ego pressure to stop it before it was done. So it's really grown well. I'm really pleased with it, and it won't be too far off. And I'm using a lot of, well, the piece that I presented last year was a little piece of the stream of that initiation path, because I am really associating the connections we have in our natal chart that we have with the Galactic Center as a direct connection to our true self. There's the little personality ego, there's the higher self, and then there is this true self. And I use a lot of Steiner's work to validate that perspective. I combine that with some of Rudyard's work, and it's very exciting to me.
Yeah, it sounds really, really interesting. I'm fascinated to hear about an initiation process as somebody who practices yoga and other spiritual modalities. Initiation is kind of an important thing. And in fact, even in Steve's work, we talk a lot about initiation, not initiation so much as transmission. And you mentioned
Yes.
that before as well. So what do you think the importance of being in person and the idea of transmission is, and being with your mentor at the Astro-Bash?
Transmission is the right word. I mean, I don't know anyone that's on a quote unquote spiritual path and has worked with a great teacher, of which Stephen certainly is that. When you're in their presence, there's no other way to describe it. Then there is a transmission. And I think I said last time, whether you think of it as coming through them or from them, there is a transmission that is palpable. You're getting information in ways that you can almost feel physically. And, I suppose there could be an amount of that through a medium like Zoom, but it's totally different and much more powerful live. You just can't beat it. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I know you've experienced that.
Yeah. That's
I mean,
the reason I'm
what would you
going.
add to that description? I mean, it's palpable.
Yeah, very, very much. And there's something, and even just the energy of being with people, because it's like I'll listen to a talk with Steve, but then if I have a few people at lunch or dinner to talk about that same lecture with, so many more insights happen.
That's
just
right.
sitting around a
That's right.
table talking about the exact same. And it's like, wait, I didn't hear that part. Oh, I didn't think of
Yeah.
it that way. It's just,
Yes, that value is also indescribable. You just can't put a worth on that,
yeah,
because the wisdom of the group itself adds to that. And any individual encounter you have, you're always going to get another perspective. I mean, I like to think I know a lot, but it's wonderful to have someone else. Oh my goodness, I would have never thought of that.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I find that I end up learning so much more at these in-person events than I do when I'm sitting at home listening to a webinar from somebody. Like, the information is there, but the processing is so
I very much
essential,
agree.
and the
Yeah.
steeping. And yeah, I think we're on the same page on this for sure.
Now I'm even more hungry to go.
Well, let me ask you this. What can you share? You've been doing astrology for a while. Can you share an unexpected insight or revelation you've had through your own work in astrology that changed your perspective or had a lasting impact on you and your work?
I think the most impactful thing to me was how I really started on this path. I was already in acupuncture school. It was kind of late in life for me. It was at my Saturn return, my first Saturn return. And I was having a rather difficult time, as you can imagine, some people do when they have a Saturn return. And after I was in I had a full-time job. I was in the clinic at the school. I was taking the curriculum as well, trying to get through for acupuncture. And one night after work late, I was sitting in a jacuzzi with a friend looking up at the stars, and I said to myself, why is my life so hard? And distinctly, I heard in my head, Saturn, teacher, taskmaker, 29 years. And so that got my attention, and I knew I had an astrology book at home. And I said, all right, when I get home, I'm looking in that book. And if Saturn's cycle is 29 years, I'm studying astrology. So that, to me, that, and of course, when I got home, it was 29 years. So that's when I started really studying astrology. I was already studying acupuncture. And so there's a lot of, the archetypal images that you learn in either one, the elements, etc. I felt like it was helpful for me in my learning of acupuncture and Chinese medicine as well. And then you add the Steiner into that. And I really felt like I was able to go deep with it all.
Yeah.
Does that answer it all?
Yeah, very much. In fact, I'm curious what you mean when you say I was able to go deep.
Well, the archetypal images kind of mesh. They complement each other. So if you learn the 5 elements in Chinese medicine, you've got the elements in astrology. So to me, at that time, I was also dissatisfied with the education at the acupuncture school, because a lot of it was memorization, just like any school where, you have this disorder, you do these points, you have this syndrome, and nothing is that easy. And so I really wanted to go deeper with that. And I felt like at that time, the astrology was actually able to help me do that with my whole life as well, but also the acupuncture curriculum and the depth of that, because it's not all intellectual.
Yeah, absolutely.
It helps that intuitive piece come through that I could use in my practice, that you use when you do a reading. It's that piece that's not so palpable or describable, that intuitive piece.
Yeah, I love what you said, that it's not so simple necessarily, and it's not so bounded.
Right. Stephen, when he describes, whatever planet you want, then you throw it into a sign, and then you've got the house. There's no pure, well, I think of it in acupuncture, there's no pure spleen chi deficiency. It's always mixed with something else. It's the same when you're looking at a chart. It's all those layers and webs, and beautiful.
Indeed. I imagine your clients love working with you. What's some of the best feedback or most profound or surprising feedback you've had from a client after a session or an astrology session?
I'll give you both sides of that. One is that often I will use astrology with a client that I'm seeing for acupuncture when it's appropriate. And often that's when they're in some sort of crisis, health-wise or emotional, whatever level you want to look at. But one of the most interesting things is that I've heard a lot is, let's say, for example, I see a dynamic that's up for them, maybe Pluto on their moon or whatever. And I'll mention this dynamic maybe having something to do with their mother, if you can imagine that. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard this reply, oh no, I've already worked on that. And so that speaks to that depth, because my reply is generally, well, you're still here and you're still in a physical body, and evolution is a spiral. You're coming back again. Being given the opportunity to take that deeper, to heal that deeper, to learn more about this, that you came in with the karmic piece that's ripened. I mean, I think that's just beautiful to be able to offer that to someone. Yes, I'm resisting this opportunity because I don't realize, I think I've already worked on it. Well, yeah, you may have done a lot of work with it, but here's an opportunity to go deeper. And then I think I mentioned, actually during my talk last year, I had just gotten a text from someone where I still see quite a bit of Plutonian people in my practice, but I've been looking at the Galactic Center for a long time, and I think it's an opportunity to point out those connections as a possibility to connect with their deeper self, their deeper spiritual self. And I read a text that I had just gotten that morning from someone who expressed that appreciation to see that part of herself and to trust what she had been feeling. And it's, I think people are really, really yearning for that connection to spirit now. It's so hard to find for many people. Evolutionary astrology is one of the most beautiful ways to introduce and invite someone to do just that.
I agree. I agree very, very much. So how can people find you, Stan?
The easiest way is probably my website. It has all my information, contact information, and that's erbdoc.com. It's erbdoc.com.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you a couple of fun, playful questions, Stan.
Well, they better be fun.
I hope they're fun for you.
Yeah.
What is your favorite aspect in your own chart?
Oh my. Um, I have Pluto Jupiter in the first house. I like that.
Oh, yeah.
But I think my favorite really is I have a T-square. It's Mercury opposite Uranus. Uranus is in the 12th house, and they both square Neptune in the third. So they're always playing off of each other. So I get a lot of insights. I can have a little confusion at times with that Neptune squaring both ends, but it's been wonderful to work with. I've enjoyed that one.
That's awesome. It's nice to hear you point out a T-square in 6, 12, and third houses as your favorite aspect. I think people need to hear how those kind of things can be so valuable.
Because fortunately, the Mercury is in Capricorn, so that helps give it some structure because it's the only Earth in my chart, really. So I can at least think about Earth. As an Aquarian, that's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So who is an astrologer you listen to or watch on? Do you watch any astrologers on social media?
Oh, absolutely. Certainly Stephen. Mark Jones is another that I really like his work and how he is able to really clearly share that and teach it.
And Stan, if your moon took over the world, what would be the first thing it would do?
Oh my, I have a Scorpio moon.
So
I wouldn't want to be king. I wouldn't want to be in control, but I would want to remove the taboo around spirit.
Oh, beautiful. Beautiful.
How about
that? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
That's pretty much it. I mean, it's a Scorpio moon, and there is that Pluto ruler and shadow and taboo. And to me, there's taboo around spirit in our culture. So I would like to see that removed.
Beautiful. And if you could talk to any historical astrologer, who would it be and why?
Wow. Well, there's Stephen, of course. And I've been fortunate enough at many of the APs to actually have dinner with him. So I'm going to take that one off the list. I have had a couple readings with Mark Jones, and the second one I actually focused on just questions about his method and a lot of other astrological things. So that was a very wonderful, insightful opportunity for me. But beyond that, I think it would either be Rudolf Steiner, who was a high initiate, or I'm going to piggyback a little bit off of, I think it was Shelley that talked about the three wise men, the Magi.
Yes.
So in Steiner's version, they were reincarnations of students of Zarathustra from 6th century BC, who was Zaratas, and that our incarnation. And these students that came back reincarnated as the three magi were Pythagoras, the prophet Daniel, and Cyrus the Great, the king that let the Israelites leave Babylon. And they had been taught by this high initiate about his return. So they had the spiritual star wisdom as that lineage of transmission to find that reincarnation of Zarathustra and the Jesus child. So it's interesting to me that the New Testament starts with star wisdom and reincarnation. It's a reincarnation story. It brings in the spiritual stream of star wisdom, and it's right there at the beginning. That's who I would love to talk to.
Yeah, I love that answer every time. And I'm like, yes, of course. That's yes.
Why not? Yeah.
Stan, it is such a delight to meet you. I can't wait to meet you in person at Astro-Bash. What are you
Oh,
most looking forward to about being back?
just seeing everybody. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a great tribe.
it is indeed. It is indeed. Well,
So I look forward to seeing you as a part of that tribe too.
yes, yes. Our paths didn't cross during the AP, so I'm really glad that they will at
Yeah,
Astro-Bash.
I'm glad it will now. Thank you so much.
Thank you again, Stan. Thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing you in just a little while, like a month and a
That's
half.
right. It's coming soon.
Yep.
I'm getting more excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Stan.
See you then.